Hey guys, what's going on? It's Cody Steck. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. We've got some really important and urgent news that I need to get out to you guys because we're seeing some massive changes in the market, and I'm seeing these questions get asked every single day. How are things going to change over the next 1 to 2 years? How are interest rates going to affect it? How are we going to see the market evolve in the next couple of years? This is a question I get asked all the time, and I see, unfortunately, a lot of buyers who end up making mistakes that ultimately are going to cost them more in the end, and this is something I want you to avoid have happen if you're interested in moving to Salt Lake City or any of the surrounding areas. Now, if you are thinking about making that move, reach out to me. As always, my information is here on the screen. I absolutely love it when you guys reach out. I've talked to people from literally all across the world and helped them make a move right here to Salt Lake City, Utah, or even just the entire state. Me and my team do serve the entire state, so we'd love to help you with that upcoming move, whether you're looking northern Utah or southern Utah or anywhere in between. So without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, so we're jumping into this article here, and we're going to take a look at this new report and new news article that just came out. So we're going to read through this together, and I'm going to provide some commentary along the way. The Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates this week, likely by 0.25% for the first time in 3 years, hoping to contain soaring inflation. Inflation's been off the charts. I've seen 7%, 8%, 9%. You know, everybody's saying that this is understated. It could be over 10%. Who knows? But everybody's feeling the pinch, right? As a result, mortgage rates will rise too. So what will that mean for the housing market? This is interesting because it says, as a result, mortgage rates will rise too. We've actually already seen mortgage rates rise over the last couple of months. Once the inflation numbers started coming in and we started seeing, hey, inflation's really going up, interest rates started going up in anticipation of what the Federal Reserve is going to do here. So we actually saw interest rates climb almost a full percentage point over the last couple of months, and then they kind of came down a little bit. Now they're back up. They're kind of fluctuating. They're extremely volatile right now, but we've already seen those interest rates go up from where they were. In the West, especially for high demand states like Utah, it's not good. It's bad, said Dijon Eskich, senior research fellow at the University of Utah's Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute, who specializes in housing research. Now, it's important to note that this organization here is a organization that puts out a lot of information regarding Utah's housing market. They do a lot of reports and they know a lot about this stuff. So everything that I say and share with you here is not necessarily to say that they're wrong. It's just my opinion, my perspective from what I'm seeing in the real estate market. Being in the trenches literally every single day, working with probably 15 to 20 different buyers at one single time, and having 10 to 15 contracts or transactions that are actually under contract and moving forward. So I'm seeing a lot of business. So I'm just sharing my perspective as we go here. As the nation's average 30-year fixed mortgage rate has risen closer to 4%, a striking 67% of Utah households are being priced out of the state's median priced home, according to Eskic's calculations. So this is pretty interesting. The state's median price, which is going to talk about right here, Utah's median priced single-family home was $512,000 statewide in the fourth quarter of 2021, according to the National Association of Realtors. Now, this is actually really interesting information because this is the same exact information that I'm seeing here on my screen. If I just pull this over here, let's take a look at what happened in fourth quarter. So that'd be October, November, December of last year. This column right here is going to be your median sales price. So we saw homes listed at 500, sold for 505 on a median basis, 515 and 528. So this information is correct from what they're saying here, and I would agree with that. It's $512,000 statewide. That was the same information we were just looking at. That's basically an average of those 3 months. A good 2/3 of Utah cannot afford the median priced home anywhere because of how fast rates rose in the last couple of months. This is interesting that's happening. It says a lot of 2/3, maybe even more, of people are not able to afford it, but yet transactions are still happening. So there's still a lot of transactions going on. I'm not saying that's good or bad or right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's interesting that there's still, although a lot of people cannot afford it, there's still a lot of people who are choosing to do that and choosing to continue to purchase real estate because it is a better long-term option for pretty much everybody. The US's average 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate reached a record low of 2.65% in January 2021, but has jumped to 3.85% in the past 3 months. If interest rates rise even more, approaching 4.5% or 5%, that percentage of Utahns who can't afford the median priced home could hit even closer to 70%. If you were going to wait to buy it in the spring, you're likely out of luck, as rising interest rates push even more homes out of reach with the higher monthly loan payments. So it says there's a little caveat here. Wait, shouldn't higher interest rates help lower demand? Utah's housing problem continues to be a supply and demand problem. I've been talking about this for months. I've been talking about low inventory, and this is why we're seeing prices increase even as interest rates have gone up. So shouldn't the rising interest rates help by dampening demand? Well, not in today's market. Rising interest rates will slow demand, but he said, but not enough to completely slow down the market because there's nothing to buy. Low inventory remains a big issue that's driving home prices sky high. Typically, when we see rates rise, we do see a slowdown in demand. We see a slowdown in price. Sometimes the price actually falls, like when they did in mid-2018 to January 2019. Then rates hit almost 5%, and the state saw its median sales price go from $310 to $301. So it's interesting that we saw this slight little dip here, and that was only, 3 years ago? 3.5 maybe, and we saw prices at $310,000 on a median basis. Right now we're sitting at $512,000. So literally, if you bought a house 3 years ago, you're sitting on roughly $200,000 in equity. It's pretty crazy. In today's market, don't expect to see prices fall. In the last 2 months, rates have risen dramatically, and we have not seen anything like that. We're seeing no indication of prices going down because inventory is so low. When inventory is low, there's still a lot of demand in the market, and so people are willing to buy what is out there in the market and make moves on those properties, and that's continuing to kind of push prices up even higher. In a normal environment, or if the housing market were the same as it was in 2019, Eskick said interest rate hikes would spur a deceleration of prices. But Utah's 2022 market is far from normal. Inventory is so low, it's non-existent, he said, noting that during this time of year, UtahRealEstate.com, which is our MLS system, would typically have between 7,000 and 9,000 active homes for sale, and right now we probably have about 2,000. Because of that, we're still expected to see pretty healthy price increases. Even with so many Utahns getting priced out, he said there are plenty of buyers still driving up demand, many who have migrated into Utah, many people like yourself. I talked to so many people who are making a move here into the state, either for recreation or because they're working remote, for the good cost of living, or maybe you've got job opportunities. There's a lot of people coming into the state. Even with, we just read that, it's those two factors, he said, low inventory and in-migration. The pandemic upended the whole nation's housing market as thousands of Americans reevaluated their lives and moved out of big cities in search of more space at lower price points. Many looked to the West, especially to states like Utah, where jobs flourish, and Idaho, where housing was comparably affordable. As a result, states like Utah and Idaho have seen record-shattering years for house sales and price increases. In Utah, experts have warned of a severely imbalanced housing market as demand continues to woefully outpace supply. This isn't just the fault of the pandemic. Let's just jump down here. Will higher interest rates lower prices? Higher interest rates may slow price increases, but it's not going to stop them. It's only going to lift what he said is called a mask that's been essentially hiding or softening the impact to homebuyers' monthly payments. In 2021, Utah home prices increased by a staggering 27% statewide. Guys, that's a huge number. They say in a healthy market, prices should go up between 2 and 3% for real estate. So 27% is absolutely insane. This shattered the 43-year-old record of 20.1% set in 1978. So this is almost 7% higher than our previous record. That's absolutely insane. According to the Salt Lake Board of Realtors. Unfortunately, in 2022, there isn't much good news for homebuyer hopefuls. Prices are still expected to rise thanks to low inventory, but the shred of good news is that they'll only increase by maybe 10%. Instead of over 20%. Now, I think this is actually a pretty low estimate. I think there's a good chance that prices will go up 15 to 20% still. I'm already seeing prices for clients that I'm working with. I'm already advising them to make offers that are somewhere between 8 and 10% above the asking price, and we're still not getting these offers accepted. So that's not the case in every scenario. Sometimes we're getting them for just barely over the ask price, but in a lot of these cases, we're offering 8 to 10% above, and I think that's going to continue to happen. We're only here in March, and we're already seeing these insane price increases. So if a home sells for, let's say, 8 to 10% above what it is now, that's going to push the entire market up, and I just don't see how we don't see at least 14, 15, 17% increases, maybe not 20%, but I do think it will be well over 10% personally. And that's just my own perspective, just from what I'm seeing happen in the market. That sliver of good news rings hollow, however, when prices are at record highs. it will just slow the acceleration. Now, this is a really important part, guys. So if you're watching this, please listen in right now because this is really important. And also consider sharing this video with a friend or a family member who's looking at moving to Utah themselves, because I think they'll find a lot of value in this video and it would really help me out, help you out. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. So this part's really important. So in 2022, we're still in a painful housing market, he said, and he doesn't see relief until later in the decade. Are you kidding? Later in the decade? We're here in 2022. Later in the decade could mean 2026, 2027, 2028. Who knows? But he's basically saying the market is going to be crazy for at least the next 3 to 4 years, when aging Utahns decide to trade in their large lots for more simplified, smaller lots. This is interesting. There's probably I think there's going to have to be more multifamily housing that comes to the market in the form of apartments, condos, and townhomes that utilize less space and allow more people to fit into that space. So there are a lot of large lots out there, but I think it's more so going to be that the urban sprawl continues to happen and people continue to move further out where there's more land available. For aspiring home buyers, actually, in addition to that, I also want to add, I think the cities are going to have to become much more flexible on what type of rental situations they allow. I'm talking about ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units. I'm talking about renting out your basement. I'm talking about converting your home to a duplex. I think cities are going to have to become much more flexible to these ideas. They already have kind of started making adjustments. Salt Lake City proper has made an adjustment saying, hey, ADUs are allowed. Here's the restrictions and the requirements you have to have. But I think it needs to go even further. We need to get a statewide, even county-wide mandate for this and say, hey, look, these things need to be allowed. Have some restrictions in place, sure, but don't restrict it so much because people are getting priced out. And if somebody can offer a basement for rent, this actually benefits both people. The homeowner benefits from getting some rental income, and the person who's renting it benefits from getting a lower rent on a place to live. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. For aspiring home buyers that have been waiting, holding out, hoping that prices might decline, hoping for the bubble to pop like it did in 2008, he said there are no indicators that waiting will lead to lower prices. Even though prices are painful today, if it makes sense for you and your family, he advised pulling the trigger now rather than waiting. It will be much cheaper to buy now than it will be in 2 to 3 years. Guys, this is extremely important information. He's basically saying, look, you should buy your house now, even though you're gonna have to, pay more than you want to, pay more than what you think is fair. Getting into the market now is going to be your best bet, especially if you don't already own a home. You just need to get in. So make some concessions. Look at condos. If you're not interested in condos, look at townhomes. Look at these other options. Make some concessions on location. You really just kind of need to get into the market because that helps you build wealth for the long term, and it will help you make those move up purchases later on in life a little bit easier. So with all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this information. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to reach out to me if you're thinking about making a move here to Utah. I would love to help you. Me and my team service the entire state, and I love talking to people from all around the world about their upcoming move here to Utah. So even if this doesn't dissuade you, if you're thinking about making a move, make it sooner than later. Buy that house now rather than in 6 months or 12 months because prices are very, very, very likely to be much higher at that point in time. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.